The silent follower. My freshman year of college was supposed to be a fresh start. I had left behind my quiet high school years in hopes of finding a new sense of belonging in a bustling campus setting. My mom and I lived in a small house in Fontana, California, just a short drive from my college. I didn't mind commuting. It allowed me to keep a sense of home while still exploring the newfound freedom of young adulthood. I wasn't the most outgoing person, but thanks to social media, I'd begun to connect with classmates. Instagram became my bridge to campus life, a way to network and stay updated on everything happening. I kept my profile curated, pictures of my cat, selfies in my favorite outfits, and snapshots of my daily life. Over time, I started to gain followers. And for the first time, I felt like I was part of something bigger. One night, after a long day of lectures and group projects, I climbed into bed, exhausted. Scrolling through Instagram had become part of my nightly routine. That night was no different, except for one small, seemingly inconsequential notification. A new follower. The account had no profile picture, just the username at Watcher in the Shadows. Curious, I clicked on the profile. It had no posts, no followers, and only one following. Weird, I muttered to myself, brushing it off as a bot account. I set my phone down and fell asleep, forgetting all about it. But the next morning, I woke up to a direct message from the same account. It was a single line. "You looked nice in the red sweater yesterday." My stomach dropped. I had indeed worn a red sweater to class the day before. My mind raced to come up with an explanation. Maybe it was someone I knew playing a prank? Or maybe it was just a creepy coincidence? Either way, I decided to ignore it. Over the next few days, the messages kept coming. Each one was more unnerving than the last. "You look stressed during your biology exam. Hope you aced it. The way you smiled at your friend today, it was beautiful. You shouldn't walk home alone at night. It's dangerous." Whoever was behind the account knew things about me they shouldn't have. They knew my class schedule, who I talked to, and where I walked after school. I blocked the account, hoping that would be the end of it, but the damage had already been done. I started looking over my shoulder constantly, convinced that someone was watching me. One night, as I sat at my desk trying to study, my phone buzzed. A text message this time, not a direct message. Did you think blocking me would stop me? My heart pounded in my chest. How had they gotten my number? I hadn't shared it publicly. I stared at the screen, paralyzed with fear. A moment later, another message came through. This one included a photo. It was of me, sitting in the very spot I was in at that moment, my head resting in my hand as I stared at my notebook. I turned my head slowly, scanning the windows of my room. The blinds were closed. I grabbed my phone and called the police, barely able to speak through the panic. "Someone is watching me," I stammered. "They're taking pictures of me from outside my house." The operator stayed on the line with me until officers arrived. They searched the perimeter and found no sign of anyone. They assured me it was likely a prank, but I wasn't convinced. I stayed at a friend's place that night, too scared to sleep in my own bed. For a while, things seemed to calm down. No more messages, no strange followers, and no ominous photos. I began to convince myself that the ordeal was over, just a bad memory I could leave behind. But a few weeks later, it started again. I was walking to my car after a late class when I felt it. The unmistakable sensation of being followed. The parking lot was mostly empty, the streetlights casting long, eerie shadows. I glanced over my shoulder, but saw nothing. Quickening my pace, I reached my car and fumbled with my keys. That's when I saw it, a figure standing at the far end of the lot, barely visible in the dim light. "Hey!" I called out, my voice trembling. "Who's there?" The figure didn't move. They just stood there, watching. I didn't wait to find out what they wanted. I jumped into my car, locked the doors, and sped out of the lot. By the time I got home, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely turn the key in the lock. Once inside, I double-checked every door and window, making sure everything was secure. My phone buzzed again, and my heart sank. It was another text. "You're fast, but I'll catch up." I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I went straight to the police station to file another report. They took my statement and promised to increase patrols near my house, but I could tell they didn't take me seriously. To them, it was just another case of a paranoid young woman, but I knew better. Whoever this was, they weren't just watching me, they were escalating. Over the next few weeks, I barely left the house, unless absolutely necessary. I stopped posting on social media, deleted my accounts, and changed my phone number. Despite my efforts, the messages continued. Now, they weren't just about me. They mentioned my mom, my friends, even my cat. They knew things no one should know. One night, I woke up to the sound of tapping on my bedroom window. My heart raced as I sat up in bed, straining to hear. The tapping continued, slow and deliberate. Gathering every ounce of courage, I crept to the window and peeked through the blinds. No one was there, but etched into the glass in crude, jagged letters was a single word: soon. That was the breaking point. I packed a bag and left that night, moving into a friend's apartment across town. My mom agreed to stay with a relative until we could figure out what to do. We even installed security cameras around the house, hoping to catch the stalker in the act. A week later, the cameras caught something. I was at work when I got the notification on my phone. Pulling up the live feed, I saw him, the pale figure from the parking lot, standing in our backyard, staring directly into the camera. He tilted his head just like he had on that first night on Instagram and raised a hand to wave. The police arrived within minutes, but once again, he was gone. All they found were footprints leading into the woods behind our house. I've since moved to a different city, changed my name, and started over. But even now, years later, I still sleep with one eye open, because no matter how far I run, I can't shake the feeling that he's still out there, watching, waiting for the right moment to strike.